Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, September 17th, 2024 meeting of the Litchfield Planning Board. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You can't bring me out anymore.
All right, I will do the roll call of members. Michael Croto, Chair.
Jared O'Connell, Vice Chair.
Travis Tucker, member.
Kevin Lynch, Selectman's Rep.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We have with us this evening Jay Mankara from NRPC, our circuit rider, Joe McKibben, our planning board administrator, and Mr. Luke Herron, our town engineer. Welcome. First item, public input on non-agenda items. Items not on the agenda for this evening. Is there any public input related to non-agenda items this evening? Okay. Hearing none, I will close public input on non-agenda items. We'll go to the first order of business this evening, number one on the agenda. Site plan application by Lobster Boat Condo Association for a consolidation of two lots into one lot, and a site plan for two buildings of multifamily housing, 6 units each. The location, 273 and 275 Dairy Road, tax map 2, lot 2 and 2A. Is the applicant present this evening?
Yes.
Could the applicant introduce himself to the board?
Absolutely. So my name is Paul Chisholm. I'm an engineer with Keach Nordstrom Associates. We're the engineers and surveyors of record for the project. I am joined tonight by John and Ben Workinger of 275 Dairy Road LLC, the owner and applicant for the property. As you mentioned, the project proposes to consolidate the two parcels that are existing out there, Lot 2 and Lot 2A, into a single parcel, and then subsequently develop that with two buildings containing 12 total apartment units, 6 units in each building. Basically, the nuts and bolts of the application tonight is, of course, your typical site plan approval. We do have a conditional use permit for impervious coverage, and then we are asking for a waiver from a portion of the traffic study requirements, and I'll get into those in a little bit. First, just to kind of give you a better overview of the property and the project. As you mentioned, it's located at 273 and 275 Dairy Road. That's in the Highway Commercial Zoning District, the Aquifer Protection District, in the Multifamily Overlay District. Combined and in total, the two parcels are a little over 7.6 acres in area. This site is really, obviously the big thing that everybody kind of recognizes out there is the Lobster Boat. So we consider it the Lobster Boat Plaza. There are a number of other businesses that do exist on the property. A daycare center, there's a doggy daycare and grooming facility, a roofing company just moved into one of the buildings, and a number of other offices, including the Workinger's office as well. Until actually just recently, there was also I think it was either a 3 or 4 family building that had existed on the smaller lot that was in pretty tough shape. It was demoed recently, obviously to make way for this project, and also the water line that's being brought through for the project behind us. So that does show up on the survey in the project plans, but do know that that has since been removed. The area is surrounded by commercial uses on 102. There's the large townhouse project, obviously, to the rear of the property. To the east, there's a little brook or stream, or whatever you want to call it, and then a manufactured housing park on the east side as well. In general, the topography in the site slopes gently from the frontage on 102 kind of to the back into the east side, which is towards the brook. Access, the two new buildings will be set along that rear property line, as you can see on the plans here, and access will be brought there with a new access road or driveway, if you will, that's a little over 500 feet in length. Parking obviously will be situated for the residents and the guests, as you can see in the parking lot surrounding those buildings. Of course, we have the typical other site plan improvements that you would expect to see in terms of stormwater management, lighting, landscaping. The new buildings will be serviced by domestic water and for fire protection from the new line that has been constructed through. It will have a new septic system that will be constructed adjacent to the westerly building, or the building on the left as you're looking at the plans here. And, obviously during construction, there will be the typical erosion control measures that take place just to protect those environmental sensitivities. Obviously, there's a number of buffers associated with that man-made pond that exists over on the right-hand side, as well as the brook and the stream. There will be easements for both access and for that water line that was brought through. It doesn't show up on this plan, but basically it's going to run the length of the property all the way down here. You'll see not only do we have the road for vehicular access, and that will be gated, that's really just for emergency access, but there is a pedestrian connection there that would allow residents from the adjacent project and site to kind of walk up to the commercial area up front here. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the water will have an easement as well. Historically, we received a variance from the zoning board for density back in April and went before the Conservation Commission earlier this month to talk about the CUP. That conditional use permit is required because there's more than 15% impervious area proposed here. I think it's actually like 35%. The maximum allowed under the conditional use criteria is up to 60 on a commercial property. So we're certainly shy of that number. We did provide a full narrative describing how we meet all the performance standards that the zoning ordinance describes. I'm certainly happy to talk about any of those criteria or standards in more detail if you'd like. But basically, the main focus for our site and what we were doing from a stormwater perspective is to construct a bioretention pond in this area right over here. It's a low-lying area of the site. It actually worked quite well. We didn't have to really jam it in there. It actually will kind of seem like part of the topography of the way that the site is naturally, as well as, hopefully it'll blend in a little bit with the landscaping as those types of ponds typically do. The waiver submitted, and I can talk about that in more detail or read it into the record. I don't know how you typically handle it.
So I think at this point, before you get into all that.
Sure.
Try to do this in an organizational fashion. So we have the site plan application that was submitted. You're looking for consolidation of 2 lots into 1 lot.
Correct.
And a site plan for the two buildings for the multifamily.
Correct.
Does the consolidation, is that, Jay, forgive me, is that subdivision regs, or is that part of site plan?
Technically, it's not really a subdivision. Do we handle it under subdivision regs? Yes, but I think in this case, we've done this before where
Okay.
it's a subdivision and a site plan is one plan set, so that would be, we did ask that there be a separate sheet included for the consolidation plan in the plan set. I believe the applicants have agreed to do that, but you could act on them as one.
Okay.
At
I just
one
wanted
time.
to clarify that. So we have to do, in order to get this process moving forward, so we have an application that was submitted, so I'm going to ask Joan, because we have to do what's called the application for completeness, which is we have to accept the plan first. So Joan, have all abutters for this project been notified?
Yes, September 3rd.
Okay, and all fees have been paid by the applicant?
Yes.
Okay. Jay, have you had an opportunity to review these plans ahead of tonight's meeting?
Yes.
And you are satisfied that they meet the requirements for acceptance under our regulations?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to assume there is no regional impact to this project.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So with abutters been notified, fees paid, we have all the documents that have been submitted for this project. So we need to entertain a motion to accept the application for its completeness for this project. Does anyone want to make that motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the application for the project, for this consolidation, and for the site plan.
Okay.
And the conditional use permit, if I may.
And the
I
condition.
thank you for adding that to my vocabulary.
Okay. So I have a motion by Mr. Lynch. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. I have a second by Travis.
So
Discussion, yes.
So the plan review that's on the portal, is that out of date?
No, that we definitely had several comments, but they don't pertain to accept, you can still accept the plan. There definitely, though, are comments that, we had hoped to see addressed before the plan would be approved.
Because, yeah, if I'm looking at the right one, yeah, it says it's not, at the time, it wasn't ready for acceptance, but.
Right, there were some things that I didn't have, but were submitted.
Awesome.
So like Lou received the drainage report, as I
Yeah,
understand it,
Jay's
right.
most
So I
recent
hadn't had
report,
that
yeah.
initially, but we do have it, and we have the waiver request, so at this point, we're satisfied.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of acceptance of the application for Lobster Boat Condo Association for 273 and 275 Dairy Road, tax map 2, lot 2 and 2A, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 400. Okay, so the application has been accepted. I know you provided us with a little bit of background history on the project. Jay, did you want to address, I know, any of your concerns? I know you have a letter I have a letter from August 26th, is that the one?
The staff review just went on this today of the,
Oh, there's another one?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, the staff report referenced the letter from
Okay.
the 26th. So the main items were there. Some of these are relatively minor items that should be added to the plan. We did get the written description of the purpose that those are relatively minor things. I think the big things that we flagged is, one, there should be a consolidation plan in there. We did have a comment about some parking spaces. The parking spaces that you see opposite the Lobster Boat building, I may call it that, kind of, what are those for? That seemed awkward. We did ask whether or not there's any signage proposed. If so, that should be shown on the plan. Both a sign out front as well as is there internal circulation. We did ask about the easements, so the water line easement, the emergency access easement, and whether or not there was a pedestrian access easement where we saw that sidewalk going into the other property. So of course, we do want to see those. We want to see them on the plan. We want to see the documents. And then there was also a reference to the condominium form of ownership, and you may want to talk about that the I'm calling it the Lobster Boat property, is under our condominium form of ownership. This would have to be added to that. What does that look like? And then once again, those are documents that we would want to see. We did note that there's no mailbox locations. Where will those be? We did suggest, would you consider adding another dumpster? There was quite a distance. Again, these are really pretty minor points. And also, would additional landscaping be contemplated? The landscaping did appear to be somewhat minimal. So those are kind of the major points. None of those are fatal, but they were all things I think we felt needed to be addressed.
okay. And have you addressed those since?
Yeah, we've, so basically what our goal was we try to get Jay and staff the things that were needed for plan acceptance, and then we've started working. I actually do have a plan here that shows how we are going to address it. It just hasn't formally been submitted yet. So I can certainly walk you through a number of those points.
We didn't think it best to unfurl a new set of plans
Yep.
before the board
Yeah.
this evening.
One item from the fire department that I
Okay.
just noticed went to Hannah Swanson, so
Oh, I was gonna say, I didn't get that.
you might like to have
I
that.
take that, yeah. Thank you.
Was that decision, I'm sorry, not decision, that email, Joan, was that sent to us as well,
It
or?
was sent to us, but I just noticed it went to the wrong engineering company.
Oh,
They didn't
okay.
get it. It was add a fire hydrant and
Yep.
turn some.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's two comments on here. One's to turn the propane tanks 90 degrees clockwise, and then also to add a hydrant. So we can definitely sort that out with them. Those are fairly minor things to work
Okay.
on.
All right.
Hey, Rick, just put that on the hallway, I'll throw it out. It's broken. Oh, there's two, I'm
So-
sorry.
Did you want to address the, I know you talked about it a little bit, but the access easement?
Yeah,
We talked
absolutely. So, As you can see, just a couple of things that Jay just mentioned there. Let me just grab my list to make sure I'm covering everything. But the big points were what's happening with these 5 parking spaces. This is the single dumpster location. Obviously, it's quite a little bit of a walk here from the last unit over. And I think it was also extending the sidewalk up to Dairy Road. There was one of the items. Mailboxes are actually currently located right at the entryway here. So what our anticipation is, and this really needs to be run through with the post office for final approval, they'll kind of have the final say, but we envision that it's just going to be an expansion of that existing location. I think there's 10, 12 mailboxes on posts as it is right now, so this may have more. I know with apartments, they typically do a little different orientation, but we'll work that out with them. But just to keep in mind what that looks like, I'll move forward a little bit here. And probably the best plan, let's start with the easement. So this colored in area here is basically what we're proposing for the access easement for, again, emergency vehicles, for pedestrians and that sort of thing. And then we're gonna get the final location where the water is. Basically the way that works is we're supposed to center the water line easement on, it's a 20-foot wide easement typically, it's centered on where the actual pipe was constructed, so we'll get that as-built location and actually formally put in, where it was actually built. Right now it's a little bit of a guess, but more or less, the idea was to follow that access drive all the way back and through to the other trough.
If I may, that easement actually has been drafted up and sent to Penachuk for reviewer approval, so that there has been something drawn up for the 275, the lot 2A and lot 2.
In terms of the other site items, and again, this is a little bit of a blown up view here, we removed these 5 parking spaces. They were just hoping to get a little extra parking for the commercial, but with a little bit of different spacing here, we were kind of able to determine that those really weren't needed. So don't disagree with the comment at all. It's a little bit awkward, especially crossing kind of an access driveway there. So those were removed. We did move the dumpster from this location over to this location. The idea being that we could extend the fence a little bit, extend the arborvitae rows, and a couple additional trees and some extra landscaping down there, as well as some extra landscaping along kind of the access drive. I know that was a particular area of interest to kind of spruce up a little bit. So that's all these changes are forthcoming. And as far as the condo docs go, so I know Attorney Morgan Hollis is working on that. It's a little bit of an interesting situation because I think, I may be wrong about this, but I think what he's trying to do is basically dissolve the existing condo association so that they can bring both properties together and then basically form a whole new condo association that will be broken up very similar to how it exists today. It's just basically going to be a whole new thing. So I know he has a plan, and do we have a draft of that?
I have a narrative of what he'd like to do. Anyone would like to read it or see it?
Yeah, please.
You lawyers are all the same.
Yeah. In talking with Morgan, definitely got the idea it was just a little bit of a unusual wrinkle to kind of how these things are typically go because of that extra property. So, and then certainly spoke with Lou, I think last week or maybe it was the week before, about, engineering comments and things like that. And we have his letter and certainly we'll respond to each of those individually. And I think there wasn't really anything major there, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, maybe Lou, maybe you can address some of those that you provided a letter.
They're all minor comments. A lot of water shutoffs shown on the site with no lines that connect the water shutoffs to where the water's coming from.
Good
You
point.
got a well, you got a pump house. The only water line that was shown was between the dog kennel and the Lobster Boat Plaza. But there's got to be a lot more out there.
Yep.
Given water shutoffs. You don't put them in for nothing. Some of the comments on the demolition stuff has already been demolished and don't really apply anymore. The parking spaces, I was a little challenged initially looking at them, because when you add up the numbers, there were like 8 short, but the 8 short are the ones that are in front of the 8 garages. So I just asked them to make a note that that's where the other 8 spaces are. And I'm guessing the 5 that got taken out are being relocated somewhere else?
I forget exactly how it's working out, but yes, either they're not needed.
Gravel area?
Yeah, correct, yeah, exactly. It will be accounted for one way or the other.
Yeah, everything else was pretty well, just minor stuff. Erosion fence, sort of at the east corner of the lot. You had grading lines going beyond where the fence went, minor stuff. Didn't talk about grass areas on the site. There are light fixtures, I just would like to have them designated, what fixtures are going where.
What types and where?
Yeah, they had the types shown.
LEDs?
ID numbers, but couldn't really figure out
Okay.
where each designated fixture is going.
I think it's the little black dots I see going up the plan right there now, right? Am I correct to say that?
I can actually just, while we're on that subject, I can pull that up.
Blew it up, didn't you?
Yes, so yeah,
Thank
of course, we have a whole
Does it come in Braille too?
lighting plan. So basically, there's a table, oh, I see, yeah, these are.
They're not labeled.
Yeah, so basically the idea is these are gonna be all of your,
Dots.
site lightings, and
Okay.
then this is the, typical residential
Yep.
style unit lighting that will exist in the buildings here.
Okay.
Certainly we'll make sure that all of this is coordinated with the as well.
I see where you're coming from with that
I
one.
couldn't tell
Right.
which was going where, so
But the dots, I could see the dots from here, I go, there had to be somewhere there.
I asked the question.
Good answer.
The rest of it were just construction details. Again, nothing significant.
Very good, man.
So the biotension pond, and the calculations are, you're good with those?
I was good with those, yeah. It was just some of the data that was on the plan, didn't agree with the data and the calculations, so I'm not gonna change the result.
Got it. Okay.
The existing water lines that are out there with the wells and all that, that's all been disconnected, right? Are they on municipal water, the whole place?
No, so actually, the way that it works is really the only thing that's gonna get connected to the new municipal water will be the new apartment buildings.
The rest have already connected by
The
well?
restaurant there's a pump house down here in this corner, and there are a number of water shut-offs, you can kind of see some of them here that kind of come through and over and service each of these buildings. The idea is for right now, at least, to leave those alone with that pump house, and just tie these in. These need fire protection, so you just can't do that on a pump, that needs municipal water.
Okay.
But that's the idea, yeah. And so, yes, we will, of course, have that located, have that shown on the
I
next one.
understand.
And you provided the deed information for
Good for the
property.
consolidation.
Probably the biggest challenge I had with the plan was figuring out cross slopes on the driveway.
Ah, yes, yeah.
I couldn't figure out what was going on there, the drainage. It seems like sheet flow going all
Yes.
the way across from
It is,
one
Yeah.
side to the other, but
you got the driveway pitch, or the
That
driveway's
means the
got
whole
a pitch going
driveway
aside,
should be-
okay.
pitch probably.
It is,
What I'm
yeah,
seeing.
yeah. The idea here really was country-style drainage, avoid as many catch basins and pipes as possible. We had to do it that way in a sense because really one of the lowest lying areas is actually an area that's really gonna stay the same, which is the gravel behind the roofing company here. And so to get that to drain properly was really a key driver for us, because it's not practical to bring this building's relatively low there, it just isn't practical.
It's an old
to
building.
Be able to lift it up, so.
You got one cross over there on the driveway, that's right.
Yep, yep,
Okay.
exactly.
It's like the old days.
And signage, are you gonna have signage?
Yeah, so there's gonna be directional signage that's gonna be included. We don't have a sense for what they will actually look like, but, we've talked about it and we'll have that shown on the next plan revision as well.
I know that there was, a traffic memo that was generated.
Yes.
Do you wanna address that?
Absolutely, yeah. So, it kind of goes hand in hand with the waiver, but basically, 102 is obviously a DOT road. We submitted a driveway permit application, although we're not actually altering the driveway in the right-of-way. It's really just private site alterations once you get a little bit further back into the property. The DOT actually needs a driveway permit application anytime you have a change in use or an increase in use or anything like that. So, because we're adding to the site, we had to perform basically relatively what I'd call minor, or some towns call it a short analysis, basically looking at trip generation and existing volumes and things like that. So basically what we did is we prepared what we needed to for the DOT, and then we submitted that to you folks, and along with a waiver. The waiver basically takes out the things that the DOT is not going to want to see, that quite frankly, just based on the size and scope of this project, we certainly don't feel is warranted, and so that's really the main basis for the waiver that goes along with that as well.
How many units were there in the building that demolished?
There's either 3 or 4.
It was 4.
4.
No, I thought there was 5 or 6 at the time. Just 3? Okay, because I condemned 2 of those. Back in the day.
So 3 come out.
3.
Yeah, and we looked
And then
at
more
it, I
place.
mean, it's, my understanding is those have been not in use for a long time.
Correct.
So we basically said, it's just an increase of 12 units. We didn't, I don't disagree, Lou, but just kind of looked at it a little bit differently.
The driveway is in the way, and the drainage would be where the buildings are, so.
Yep.
Don't bother.
Yep.
And can you talk about the waiver?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so, again, there are certain sections, basically what's required by code, I guess, in the site plan regulations is like a full-on traffic study, which would include like actually getting real data counts, looking at a lot of things that is really kind of more typical from my perspective of like a bigger, site that's gonna generate a lot more traffic. Because, the numbers of the trip generation estimated calculation are what they are, and again, I can find them, but I think it's less than 100 cars in a peak hour, less than 1,000 a day. That's kind of a typical tipping point for us to do a little bit more there. And so, like I said, we basically looked at, all right, what conforms to the DOT, since it's really going to be them approving that. And I don't think there's actually a local driveway permit that we're going to have to get for this, because everything's internal, is that correct?
It's state.
Yeah,
a
it's
state
just
road.
state.
It's not automatic.
So we just said, the DOT is obviously going to administer this, let's get them what they need, we'll share that with the town, and then we'll just make up for all those technical things that we don't have with a waiver. And so a lot of what that is like, requiring them to pay, a traffic engineer to go out and actually do real traffic counts and generate a study that really, quite frankly, I don't think is gonna, based on the volume and traffic that's existing on Dairy Road, it's gonna be a pretty minor increase, an increase, but a minor one, that, I just don't think the results would warrant the cost, quite frankly.
Anybody have any questions for the applicant? I'm sorry. Anybody have anything that they want to add?
It's 2 stories, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, actually.
I don't need to see the building plans.
I was just-
I'm not, no, I've seen enough of those in my lifetime.
I was just gonna get them for you, but
No, please,
almost forgot.
no, don't worry.
Other than the driveway permit, are there any other state permits that are required? for this?
No, not for this project. Actually, no, I take it back, septic.
Septic.
Yes,
Subsurface, yes,
Yeah.
but that's common.
Yeah, correct. And we'll apply for that after this process.
And you leave Litchfield to determine on the east side, the south side of the project, or the west side, I'll call it.
Correct, yeah, it's basically gonna sit, under this parking lot right
Yep, that's what I'm saying, okay. Oh, cool. H20s. That's the size of the chambers they put in for that.
Jay, anything else you want to add?
No, I think we've covered all the comments, I think, for myself and from Lou.
Okay. Lou, anything?
No.
Okay. All right, at this time, I'm gonna open it up to public comment. Is there any members of the public that wish to comment on this site plan application this evening?
I'm just Rick Charbonneau
Yeah.
at 255 Rose Meadow. Everything's good. We agreed on all these things, so the fire access, the water main's in, they're gonna actually turn the water main on tomorrow. The project's gonna work out good. Having them we're gonna have a sidewalk to their property line, they're gonna bring it to 102, which is all great. So it's all good.
Okay. Great. Anybody else? Okay, I do have a letter. I'm going to read it into the record. It's from the Town of Litchfield Conservation Commission. I guess they had an opportunity to comment on this site plan. This is dated September 5th, 2024, addressed to the Litchfield Planning Board regarding Boulder Creek Site Plan Review, 273, 275 Dairy Road. Chair Croto and honorable planning board members. Litchfield Conservation Commission reviewed the site plan for 12 units of multifamily housing, 2 buildings, tax map 2, lot 2 and 2A in the Aquifer Protection District. We discussed the site plan with the owners of the property and their engineer, and they covered all of our questions, and the Conservation Commission has no concerns with the plan. Please do not hesitate to contact me with any questions or concerns. Respectfully submitted, Matt Hoffman, Chair of Litchfield Conservation Commission. All right, seeing no other public comment, I'll close public input and bring it back to the board. Board have any further questions for the applicant? Anything that they curious about? Okay. So obviously, a lot of this stuff has to be put onto the new plan, and you're going to be doing that. And we all do have to, so I don't know if it's, we can, there's also the conditional use permit. I forgot about that. Can you just quickly address that, and what that is?
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely. So this property is located in the Aquifer Protection District. Within that district, if you have over 15% impervious area on the property, you are required to file a conditional use permit. On a commercial property such as this, you're allowed up to 60%. The site is right around 35%. And so basically, there's the criteria is outlined in the zoning ordinance, talking about, a lot of it is relative to chemicals and things like that may be stored, like typical land use type stuff. There's really not much on here that's really of any concern as far as that goes. And with the addition of the bioretention pond, it's really bringing a good stormwater management BMP system to a site that really has nothing today. So with those improvements, we certainly feel like we're meeting all of those criteria, and we're under that 60% threshold. So certainly a CUP is warranted in this case. But yeah, that's the general nuts and bolts of it.
okay. So the board, I don't know what the will of the board is. We've heard from the applicant, we've heard from the abutters and our town staff. There's a couple things we can do. Obviously, they have to redo the plan. Would it make sense for them to continue this hearing to a date certain, so that they can come back and show us the revisions, make sure that everything's on it, that they've done everything, and make sure that it looks good.
I think that'd be prudent to the next available
And they'll
agenda.
give you an opportunity to review it, Jay,
Right.
before the meeting.
And Lou as well.
Okay, and Lou as well.
So we'd be, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Joan, the 15th?
Yeah, the next one's October 1st, and then, the 15th.
Yeah, that works. I think we probably need about a week, maybe a little longer to get it back to you, and then you obviously need time to review it, so that should get us a clean.
And at that time, at that meeting, what we'll do is we'll vote on the waiver.
That works.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So,
I'm trying to help.
Motion to
We need a
continue.
motion.
oh, I'm sorry, yes, you're right.
So which day are we,
The October 15th at 7. So you want to make a motion?
Sure.
Make a motion, want me to make a motion that we're gonna put it on for the next meeting?
Continue it to October.
Plan is I make a motion that the plan is contingently approved and be put back on the agenda for October 15th for final review.
The plans continued to
Continue
the
to
15th.
Okay, I'll correct my grammar.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Lynch. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Travis. Any further discussion? All right.
Let me with this.
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 4-0-0.
Great. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank
Have a great
you.
evening, everybody.
Oh, here comes the other half. Seen that day before. Fencing outfit. Been around for a while.
All right. Next item on the agenda is a site plan for 457 Charles Bancroft Highway in the Northern Commercial Zone District, tax map 20, lot 18-1, owned by Richard Charbonneau Revocable Trust and 457 Charles Bancroft Highway LLC, or CBH LLC. Proposal is to be developed by Finnegan Fence Company, a 4,800 square foot contractor's building and showroom, small second floor with office space for the business, associated outdoor storage and work area. Is the applicant present this evening? And I'd ask the applicant to introduce himself to the board. Come right up here. Yeah.
That's the hot seat.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Ethan Beals. I'm a project manager at Hayner Swanson, doing business at 3 Congress Street in Nashua, New Hampshire. Also with me tonight is Rick Charbonneau, the property owner, and the team from Finnegan Fence, including Al, Tim, and Brian Finnegan, who have been operating their family-owned fencing business for the better part of the last decade out of southern New Hampshire. Here tonight to quickly go over some of the facts of the case and then be happy to answer any questions that the board may have. Before I jump into the proposed project, I'll give the board a quick background refresher. I don't know, Jay, could you go to the very first one? It was from the site prep. I think the first sheet in the site plan that I'd sent you. I don't know if you have that one or not.
I thought I just had it up here.
If not, no big deal, Jay.
It's this one.
Yes, perfect. So, as you may remember back in February, or you may or may not remember, because there's a couple new board members here, in February and March early this year, myself and a colleague had presented 2 projects in this vicinity of the Charles Bancroft Highway. One of these was a site preparation plan. A large hill does exist on the back of these 3 lots, and it was proposed to remove the existing sands and gravels from this hill. This would prepare Lot 18-1, the subject lot, as you can see highlighted on that plan, Lot 18-2 and Lot 18-3 for the future development, and it would also construct a stormwater management area on the front of Lot 18-1, the subject lot, to service the future developments of all 3 lots. Jay, if you don't mind going to the master site plan, that would be great. The subject property is located at 457 Charles Bancroft Highway and is known to the Town of Litchfield Assessor's Office as map 20, lot 18-1. The site measures 2.60 acres in size and is located in Litchfield's NC Northern Commercial Zoning District. The site is abutted by undeveloped property to the north and east, residential property to the south, and Mel's Funway and Charles Bancroft Highway to the west. A wetland does exist on the abutting property to the east, and its buffer slightly encroaches into the southwest corner of the subject site. And the previously mentioned stormwater management area for the site prep project has been constructed at the front of the subject property. Water and overhead electric telecommunication lines are available on Charles Bancroft Highway, but there's no municipal sewer or gas in this area of town. In accordance with the Litchfield zoning ordinance, a contractor's building will be constructed on the property. As previously mentioned, before this work begins, the hill that impacts the site will be excavated down to reduce its overall impact, and the remainder of the site will be gently graded from back to front. The proposed building will have a 4,800 square foot footprint. The main floor will consist primarily of warehouse and shop space, and will also include a smaller 1,000 plus or minus square foot showroom, office, and bathroom. Above that, there will be a second floor just above the proposed showroom area, which will contain several office spaces and a conference room for the business. Jay, if you don't mind switching to the rendering, or the elevation rather. Perfect. The contractor's building will be a prefabricated metal building. The siding will be white with black trim, a standing seam metal roof that will be green in color. A stone veneer wainscoting will wrap the building on all sides. The building will have 2 cupolas at the roof peak, and a farmer's porch canopy will extend partially along the front and east side of the building. Finnegan Fence will own and operate their business out of this building. The shop will serve as the headquarters to store company trucks, trailers, and equipment. The outdoor storage area will be used to store fencing product and other material goods. Once this facility is constructed, they will also begin wholesaling fencing product to smaller fence companies or residential buyers. The outdoor work area behind the building will be used to assemble pre-made fencing packages that can be purchased and picked up or utilized by their crews as part of their normal work. Access to the proposed development will come via a driveway curb cut out onto Charles Bancroft Highway that will also be shared with the adjacent lot 18-2. Thank you, Jay. Anticipated traffic to the site includes 1 tractor-trailer delivery of fencing product a week, 6 to 12 wholesale pickups, which is typically a pickup truck, a day, 4 to 8 customers visiting the showroom or paying their bills, we hope, 12 to 14 field staff, and 2 to 4 office staff. And these estimates do include some anticipated business growth as they move in and adjust to their new facility. A revised traffic memorandum was prepared by Stephen Pernon Company and submitted along with our application. This letter analyzed the updated traffic for the shared driveway from the proposed contractor's building and an assumed future development of lot 18-2. This letter concluded that the shared driveway will accommodate approximately 34 vehicle trips during the worst-case PM peak hour, and it also concluded that the previously designed and approved driveway remains appropriate for the proposed development mix. In total, the site will contain 19 parking spaces, 12 of which will be provided along the shared driveway, which will primarily be used by employees. 7 parking spaces, including 1 accessible space, will be provided in the front of the building, primarily for customers. 19 spaces provided is in excess of a 2.5 space per 1,000 square foot of building space required by code, which would be 12 spaces. On utilities, the proposed contractor's building will be serviced by a private individual sewage disposal or septic system. Since the time of our original submission, we have applied for and received approval from the DES Subsurface Bureau to construct. The building will also be serviced by water by Pennachuck Waterworks and underground electric and telecommunication utilities. In terms of stormwater, the aforementioned previously designed and constructed stormwater practice will service the proposed development. The stormwater practice has been sized to accommodate this runoff from this development and the nearby 2 developments. Through the use of curbing, site grading, and catch basins, site runoff will be captured and conveyed into the stormwater trunk line associated with this practice. Once constructed, the site will contain 48.8 plus or minus % impervious cover, where the maximum allowed in this zone is 65%. There are no wetland or wetland buffer impacts proposed as a result of this project. A sidewalk will be constructed along the property's frontage, and a formal pedestrian easement plan has already been recorded over that area of the site. A site landscaping plan was prepared and included as part of our site plan application. In general, we were looking to supplement the original proposed plantings from the site prep plan and provide some additional screening of the building and outdoor storage area. Site lighting plan was also included in our submission. Lighting will consist of several wall packs on the exterior of the building and a few light poles around the perimeter driveway. All lighting will be downcast, full cutoff fixtures in accordance with the regulations. Here tonight, Mr. Chairman, I do have a waiver form that I can pass out in a second or whenever is easiest for you. Here tonight seeking one waiver of Litchfield Site Plan Regulation 120.13.7, which requires windows and entry areas to cover a minimum of 60% of the entire facade length of the building. Strict adherence to this requirement creates an unnecessary hardship and cost for my client and provides no real benefit to this project. Furthermore, the proposed use, a contractor's building, furthermore, the proposed use as a contractor's building, actually, it would be more challenging to add windows to the back end of the building because it limits what interior shelving, racking, and other interior elements can be added to this type of building. We've done our best to add architectural elements such as cupolas, a partial farmer's porch canopy, and stone veneer wainscoting to the building. We've also tried to provide additional landscaping to help screen the building from the roadway. In summary, we believe our site plan conforms to Litchfield site plan regulations. The proposed project will bring a local fencing company into Litchfield and set them up for success into the future. I have reviewed both Mr. Mancara and Mr. Karen's comments. While I do usually like to have all my ducks in a row before I come to a meeting, all of the comments provided are relatively minor in nature and we feel can easily be addressed to their satisfaction as a condition of approval tonight. The only request that I would have, Mr. Chairman, is that a DOT driveway permit condition be tied perhaps to a condition, perhaps to the certificate of occupancy instead of prior to the chair signing the plans. As a reminder, the driveway does have an existing driveway permit. It just needs to be amended to update the traffic counts. And as I think this board is aware from recent past project, DOT has a significant backlog of work and it does take some time to work through that process with them. At this time, myself and the Finnegan team would be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So first off,
Look at the waiver in the building.
what's that?
The building lighting, the windows make no sense.
Okay.
In this type of use.
Thank you. So at this time, we'll just basically go through our acceptance of the plan for completeness. Joan, have all abutters been notified and fees paid for this project?
Yes, the butter is notified September 3rd and fees have been paid.
Okay. Jay, did you have an opportunity before this meeting to look at this plan and to review it and have the opportunity to make any suggestions, comments, and so forth?
Yes,
It is a completed, you would say it's a completed.
yes it is, very
Okay.
much so.
All right. So I need a motion to accept the plan for completeness. All the butters have been notified, fees paid, and regional impact to this project. I don't believe there is any, so we will note that. But I need a motion to basically approve it for completeness.
So I'll make a motion to accept the site plan for 457 Charles Bancroft Highway, tax map 20, lot 18-1 for completeness.
Okay, I have a motion by Jared. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Travis. Any further discussion? All right, to the vote, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 4-0-0. Okay, so we have accepted the application for its completeness. We've heard from the applicant. Is there any questions thus far regarding this project?
So I remember when the initial subdivision, I haven't been able to review the plans, as I don't see them on the website. So I remember when the subdivision happened, there would need to potentially be some drainage easements. Have those been addressed on the plan for the neighboring lots, if they have drainage through this lot?
Well, maybe we can have, Mr. Karen, do you have any, I know you provided some comments this evening. Would you like to speak to any of that?
Yeah, I'm not sure I was clear on any drainage easements needed, coming from off-site. Everything was contained on-site, even the topography kind of.
They all forced it down to that one corner. Yep.
It's actually one of the simpler site plans I've ever had to look at in town because the detention pond was already there and it's been constructed, it's got grass growing, it's got little birds feeding in there and everything is going smoothly. So all my comments are very minor, just adding some more dimensions and details to the plan to more or less describe what's being proposed rather than just drawing a line. And I had no issues with the traffic study or the drainage report.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could also add to perhaps directly answer the question. As you could see on our, if you were on our master site plan, has been a drainage easement that's recorded. The plan number is HCRD 42137, which really provides an easement over the proposed pond, continues up to 18.2 and 18.3 for their benefit to basically flowage rights from stormwater runoff from both those sites into the proposed basin.
And
So,
that goes to the creek down below. That's where it goes down through there, if I recall.
this basin actually ties into the drainage
Correct.
right
Yeah.
on Charles
Within the
Bancroft.
state system.
Very familiar with it,
3A.
yeah, very familiar with it.
So yeah, that
Pretty
answers.
significant decrease in peak flows.
Oh,
because
yeah,
of the
there is.
basin,
That detention basin just knocks it down.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so that addresses the question. Thank you.
You mentioned something about there was a wetland on this property?
Nope, so there's actually, so if you were look just off of our site onto the abutting site to the east, there is a wetland. And so in
Farther down.
that southwest, more kind of that southern corner of the site, a buffer does encroach slightly into the corner. But most importantly, we're not touching the wetland because it doesn't exist on our site, nor are we impacting the wetland buffer.
Okay. Have you had an opportunity to talk to the fire department at all, or the police department regarding this?
Yep, we
application?
did, there was one question asked by fire, purely from addressing, but they had actually provided addresses for us back when we did the original subdivision
For each
that
unit.
Mr. O'Connell had mentioned a second ago. So the 457 Charles Bancroft Highway is the address provided by Litchfield Fire and will remain that address.
Any other questions?
I guess what you briefly mentioned that there will be some vegetation or screening on the lot, but what will be screening the outdoor storage area? Because it's not going to be the most pretty spot.
Sure. So importantly, the building and the outdoor storage area are all set back a pretty good distance from the Charles Bancroft Highway there's, of course, the large detention basin if you have driven by the site recently, but there will also be really basically a grass strip between that. And then, thank you, Jay. So as part of the site prep, there's kind of twofold plantings going on here. The screened back plantings are the ones that were originally proposed as part of that site preparation project. And as part of this project, we are looking to supplement those by adding a couple additional trees along the front, some additional smaller shrub type, if you will, directly in front of that outdoor storage area, and then over by the head wall for the basin. So really it was, this project was looking to supplement those ones that were already proposed as part of that site preparation plan.
Okay, thank you.
Regarding the building itself, regarding the windows, we have to vote to agree with the less windows, correct?
Well, there's a waiver.
The waiver,
request
that's what I'm referring to.
To, regarding the window.
Yeah.
Jay, any comments from you regarding the application?
Really, our comments were only a couple and very minor. The waiver has already been addressed. So many of the issues, related to this project were addressed in the site preparation plan and the subdivision plan, which really positioned it well for this kind of final stage of approving a site plan on this individual lot. So very, very few comments.
Very basic.
Very straightforward. The traffic issues were addressed. Drainage issues have been addressed. The site, I think, is well positioned at this point, assuming that the board sees fit to grant the waiver.
You mentioned in your staff report about an intra-district buffer yard?
I did.
What was that?
I did want to mention it because I really more for the sake of our own regulations, which I think are big. We do have a buffer requirement between residential and commercial within the same district. We did approve a mixed-use site on an adjacent parcel. We don't address mixed use. I don't think it's applicable. It was part of the same subdivision plan, and pretty obviously it would make no sense to have a buffer from mixed use when that use was in fact a residential use with a contractor's building. So it wouldn't make any sense, but I did want to raise it because
I
it's,
understand where he's coming from.
it is in the regs. It's probably something in the future we'll want to address.
That sounds good.
I just had a quick question about the roof line. I wasn't sure if, was there a waiver already granted, or am I misunderstanding? I think the roof line runs 60 feet, and our regulations say 50 feet for a continuous plane of roof line. I wasn't sure if one had been granted, or if we need to grant a waiver for that.
That's arguable. Arguably, the cupola breaks it up.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just wasn't sure if I
Yeah.
wanted to cover the base there. Perfect. All right.
My understanding also is that you're going to be meeting with the Board of Selectmen about road improvements. I guess they have to decide, they're going to make the decision on that.
No, state.
Not for this.
For the state?
Yeah, but that's a state road.
No, that,
Is that, or is that something else I'm
we're
thinking
meeting
of?
with the Board of Selectmen next week, but
Oh, no, I'm sorry, that's 255, I apologize.
Correct.
Yeah, that's Rose Meadow.
That's another place.
Okay.
I have to admit, this is a very basic, simple.
you know, I'm hoping they tell me they don't want Cutler Road moved.
Don't do this.
Well, we'll find out.
It's all downhill from that point on. Cutler Road goes down. I have to admit that this is a very simple site plan, all the ones that I've seen in my life, as well as you guys, okay?
Well,
This is basic.
Because it was done prior to, because we're basically leaving them a flat site.
Well, you still got some work to do on that.
We're leaving them a flat site.
I understand. I really understand that, Rick.
Is there a timing on moving some of those piles?
Yeah, we're hoping to be done by spring. So once we have trucks, we're gonna move it out of there.
All the trucks have been.
You got no trucks?
If you drive through Hampshire, you'll see them in any other town.
The plan, does it include impact fees calculations?
That was one of Jay's notes,
Okay.
that
So you're gonna need to do
that needs
that.
to be added, but happy to add those to the plans. Yep, that's not an issue.
Most cases, they don't add it to the plan, it's added to the building permit process, right?
No, on the plan,
It's on the plan here?
should be on the plan, yeah.
Okay, okay. You guys do it different than I used to.
All right. Anything else, Jay?
That's all.
Okay. Can you, obviously, we talked about the window, and you addressed it. Can you just briefly give us a summarize of what you're looking for in terms of the waiver?
Sure, yep. The specific regulation 120.13.7 requires windows and entry areas to cover a minimum of 60% of the entire facade length. So specifically on this building and contractor's building, and as kind of another background refresher, that the contractor's building we did on lot 18-3, so one lot over, the same waiver was requested and granted for similar reasons. One in a larger contractor, commercial building, adding windows just for the sake of adding windows and meeting regulation actually limits what can be done inside the building. Obviously, if you have glass windows that break up a wall, you can't exactly fix interior shelving or racking to that wall to a window. So what we had actually learned partially from that 18.3 one, the board had requested that we actually try to front-end load the windows and door pieces up to the front, to the roadside, to the public-facing side of the building. So they actually took that here, did the same thing. They tried to generate the windows in that front corner where their showroom and second floor offices are. So trying to put the windows around effectively the non-warehouse portion of the building, and then trying to add some additional architectural elements to perhaps make it look a little bit less like a true commercial contractor's building and fit in a little bit better in this area of Litchfield.
Thank you.
You got man doors on the two sides in the front. And you got two garage doors. If anything, you could just add some lighting at the top panel, you're gonna get some natural light in there. That happens every single day.
Sure.
That's just a choice, you know.
And
But in all, I'm not surprised to see this, because you're right. Stacking of stuff, it's a warehouse.
Yeah.
You don't want windows in a warehouse for safety reasons.
And yeah, as you said, there's precedent from the contractor's building, like 2 lots over.
Yep.
And in this case, the land that would be seeing the windowless side is unlikely to be developed, right? There are like wetlands back there, right?
Behind it, yeah.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a slope, there's gonna be a bank in anyway, so.
You'll see a hill.
It's all wetland anyway, nothing's gonna get developed behind it.
Yeah, so it seems reasonable with the windows front-loaded.
And in terms of the landscaping plan, can you address that? What are you looking to do?
Yep, so as part of the site prep plan, there was a number of plantings in and more around that proposed basin, and also separating basically down that shared property line with the abutting lot.
So the light-colored ones are the existing ones, and the dark ones are the new ones?
So not existing, they're not yet planted today,
Prior
but we're basically the lighter ones, the screened back ones are the ones from the site prep plan. And so we were looking to basically say, all right, there's already a good number of plantings proposed in and around this basin. How do we add to that basically supplements and adds to our site? And that was a couple of bigger trees along that bank as it slopes into the basin, and then a couple of smaller shrub-type ones to help screen the outdoor material storage area and really that kind of head wall at the inlet to the stormwater basin.
How many trees were on the site prep plan? 40?
I'd have to...
There's quite a few looking on that line. There's a lot of trees on that line.
I planted 40 on that line.
Yeah.
At 20 foot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like around 40.
I think I better put these on, I can see them. Oh, there they are.
And in terms of hours of operation for the business, I mean, when is it going to be open, when is it closed?
Yeah, so hours of operation we had listed on the plans as Monday to Saturday, 8 to 8, effectively. And that doesn't mean that they're there at 8 and they're leaving at 8. I'm sorry, 6 to 8, sorry.
6 to 8.
That is unlikely that they're going to be there every day for all of those hours, but that was kind of a general overarching. Basically, the mornings there's going to be some wholesale pickups. Their field guys come to the site in the morning to gather, go over the day's work. Over the course of the day, it's relatively minimal use. There'll be a couple office employees, a couple customer visits, maybe a delivery or two. Those wholesale pieces where if you were putting up fencing in your yard, or if there's another local small fencing company that wanted to purchase fencing, they could swing by in the morning, purchase those pre-assembled fencing packages, leave with those. But those were the Monday to Saturday, 6 to 8 p.m., 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. were the general hours that we had provided on the plans.
And what about employees? Are there going to be people there working during the day, or how many people do you
Three or
think?
four, you just said.
3 or 4?
Yeah, so as part of the traffic pieces, and again, these are a little bit inflated because of the anticipated company growth, but they have 12 to 14 field crew people who will come to the site at the beginning of the day, go out in company vehicles, trucks and trailers, and then come back at the end of the day, and then really about 2 to 4 office staff as they grow and as they adjust their business to the site.
And is it just Monday through Friday?
So those hours were Monday to Saturday.
Monday to Saturday.
Which makes sense, because I'm not gonna go there during the week. Be too busy.
All right, if there's no other questions at this time, I'll open it up to public comment. Any members of the public that wish to comment on the application this evening? Okay. Hearing none, I will close public input. Bring it back to the board. Any board have any other questions?
I think all the concerns have been addressed.
Okay. Do you want to vote on the waiver first? And then we can go to the application, the site plan application?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion for the
So-
waiver?
Would that be conditioned on the building, being as shown on the plan?
You mean, you talking about the light, the window?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna waive that 60%
Yes,
requirement,
but-
okay, that's all.
Yes.
Okay, and,
Are we just
no, I think
waiving
land-
in general, or are we gonna, or,
The plan shows where the windows are.
so that would be voted on
Yeah.
separately? And are the windows binding on the plan? Or is the shown building, are the window locations binding?
Yes, because it's part of the submitted plan set.
Okay. So, this is
Kill it.
SP section 120-13.7, windows.
What's the section you referred to?
For this, since there's no window dimensions shown on the plan, it has to be done to scale, I presume, that is the binding. All right.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to grant a waiver to the applicant for site plan section 120-13.7 windows for the percentage window opening requirement.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion by Jared, a second by Kevin. Any further discussion? All right, as to the waiver regarding the window, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 400. Okay, so that deals with the waiver.
For the application,
For approval?
are there any things outstanding that need to be conditions?
There's only one, and that is for the driveway approval to be part of the condition from the deed, from the department, that's all. That's generic.
Addition of the impact fee calculations to
Yeah.
the plan set.
Just the driveway permit, just updated because we already have it.
Correct, it's just an update to make, that's all it is, yeah.
So, how would I word that condition for the driveway?
We have to have the updated driveway.
Up to, right,
That's all.
from DOT.
Prior to
Prior to, yeah.
prior to certificate of occupancy.
Yeah.
Prior to the certificate of. Yeah.
Good point.
So it would be include updated driveway permit prior to certificate of occupancy.
Yes.
So it's impact fees and that. Anything else?
Are there any other state permits?
Not that I know of.
We have the septic permit already, the overarching AOT permit we have already, so there shouldn't be any outstanding state permits that we need.
Okay.
Right, so just, in addition to those, just the standard
The
conditions.
standard, yeah.
And
Lou's comments, right, so.
what
would be-
what needs to be addressed for that?
And I
So
would
that's-
say, and to satisfactorily address the comments in Karen Engineering's letter of September 16th, 2024.
Was the test pit for the Litchfield good?
I mean, to put it simply,
Anywhere.
yes, it was. The design of the design design's been
I'm very familiar
approved.
with it.
No issues.
I used to be a licensed designer. My number is 78. I'm young.
Isn't that all sand?
Huh?
Isn't that all sand?
Yeah, it's all sand. He's been moving it. It's been sand for years.
So the last condition would be satisfactory addressing of the concerns by LC Engineering Company and LLC.
Yeah, I just added in the letter dated, September 16th.
That was 18
And now you're 95.
It's all-
Few years ago.
What
You're 70 now, aren't you?
September 16th, 2024.
Went to school together.
Okay, so I have all the conditions ready for
Okay.
a motion. Anything
You
else
youngsters.
before we move on to conditional approval?
Anything else from the board? So why don't we read them off?
One more time before?
Right.
So the conditions will be impact fee calculation shown on the plan, including that the updated driveway permit must be done prior to the certificate of occupancy. Be granted prior, right?
Mhm.
And then satisfactory addressing of the concerns by LC Engineering Company LLC from the letter dated September 16th.
Yep.
And standard conditions of approval.
And did we mention the impact fees?
Yeah, that's the first one.
Okay, sorry.
So,
Got it.
anything else?
Okay, I think that's everything.
Okay.
All right, so do you want to
I
make
can,
the motion for conditional approval?
yeah, sure. So the address is 457 Charles Bancroft
I
Drive.
can make the motion if you want me to. It's up to him.
What was that?
I'll make the motion.
I have all the conditions.
Go for it, guy. I feel better now.
I'll make a motion to conditionally approve the site plan for 457 Charles Bancroft Highway, tax map 20, lot 18-1, with the conditions being that the impact fee calculations must be shown on the plan, that the updated driveway permit must be granted prior to the certificate of occupancy, that that the concerns by LC Engineering Company LC dated September 16th, 2024 are addressed, and the standard conditions of approval are applied.
Second.
All right, I have a motion for conditional approval by Jared, second by Travis. Is there any further discussion? All right,
Surprised you, didn't I?
take a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jay, thanks,
Is
John.
the building gonna be black and white? No, I already got one in front of mine.
We're gonna come in, just, there's nothing to do with this, but we're gonna come in on, what,
23rd.
October 3rd?
No,
So-
to us, October 1st.
October 1st, for Rose Meadow, to talk about Colored Road.
Yep.
But if any of you guys want to take a ride through Rose Meadow, if you have any questions, you can address them that night, if anybody has any concerns.
Sure.
We'll drive through and look at it and see how it's going. Just so you can look at it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss the
Thank you.
Cutler Road the way it was.
Big way to stay.
Selectmen aren't gonna want it.
All right.
Hey, Rick, I didn't think you were that young.
That was a shot from.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm used to it. I'm so used to it.
Okay.
I get to do it in Milford too every day.
You do Milford still?
I love it. I do a little building permission.
Have a good night.
So easy, this job.
So easy.
All right. Next item is committee reports. Any reports from any committees this evening? Jeremy is not here, so we don't have economic development.
I can give that one if you want.
Oh, yeah, oh, that's right, Jay, you're, yeah,
It's
on the
there, so-
plant board, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not on the board, but we did have our focus group session last week, and I thought it went well. Very small turnout.
How many?
I'm not surprised.
3,
Oh, my God.
Okay.
I want to say. I think we had 3 members of the public.
Were any of them on existing
I
boards?
think we may have wound up with 4. No. One from the Historic Society. The other folks I've never seen before. So that was actually good input. And then obviously the committee members. So good that we moved it here and kept it small.
Yeah.
But not surprisingly, the folks who came really had thoughts. I can share the presentation that we did, but basically, the main focus, other than a general discussion, was I showed a series of slides of different types of development that reflected what came out of the survey. So the top items that people talked about in the survey, what kind of, commercial development do you want to see? Farmers market was number one. We could argue whether that's business development or not, but nevertheless, we did, in fact, discuss that issue. But we showed some images, and then the question was always, is this something you would want to see in Litchfield, and if so, where? And then some examples of different types of restaurants that are located in rural areas. So again, we looked at those, and then on down kind of the list, bakeries, et cetera, and until we got to some more modern and kind of like what we saw tonight, industrial types of buildings. So it was, I thought it overall went well. I thought we got really good input, even though it was a very small group.
Which types of development did they seem excited to potentially include in Litchfield?
It is, so kind of again, we went to what was at the top of the list of people who responded to the survey. And so we focused on those primarily. And the kinds of examples that we were looking at, so for example, in looking at restaurants, what kind of a restaurant would work in Litchfield? One of the things that had been discussed at the committee level was there's not a high volumes of traffic in most areas of Litchfield. Where are you going to get? But there are popular destination restaurants in rural areas, such as Parker's Maple Barn, and we showed an image of that, or Pickety Place, both in Little Tiny Mason. Bedford Village Inn was another example that we looked at. So there were a few like that, and I think there was a general sense of, yeah, something like that could fit well in Litchfield on 3A. And maybe not just in the existing commercial districts. Maybe that's something that could work in some other areas. And so most of the buildings that we looked at, coffee shop, that was another one. We did look at kind of a more modern, Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. Does that work? I think there was a sense of, sure, but something like that would be appropriate on Dairy Road, on 102. And we looked at a Panera, kind of this is what that looks like. And again, I think that was the kind of the sense of, yeah, that might work in the northern commercial zone. It would work on 102. It wouldn't work in another location. So it was really examples like that, a coffee shop, like those examples, but then here's kind of a, cutesier looking coffee shop in a converted house. And we also had some conversation around when people say that they'd like to see these things, what do they mean? So for example, a coffee shop, is it that you need another place to get a cup of coffee, or is there a sense that people want a place to kind of gather? And I think the latter was what the thinking was. It's when people are saying coffee shop, I mean, people are going to say it for different reasons, but that's probably what people are more thinking. I think that was a general sense, too, of a lot of the responses were, this is speculation, were less, in the survey, were less about we want to see commercial development because we want to see more jobs created, or we want to see more business opportunities. A lot of it did seem to be, we want places to gather, we want to build a sense of community. That's why we like the idea of a farmer's market. That's why we like, that seemed to be it. And what we like people seemed to favor things that were conducive with that rural agricultural character, because clearly, overwhelmingly, when asked what attracted you to Litchfield, that's what attracted people to Litchfield. I forgot breweries and wineries, so we showed like La Belle Winery and some of those examples also. But I know we're going to have a work session coming up with some different things, but I'd be happy to share that slideshow with everybody to take a look at as well. And then we ended it on showing kind of, these kind of mixed-use village concepts, what do you think?
Okay.
And curious to see what they said about that.
I think people were favorable. I think that one of the takeaways was, for a lot of these things, I think there was a sense that these are things that would be appropriate in Litchfield, not just in the commercial districts, but along 3A, potentially, because a lot of them are converted barns and historic homes with additions, but that it would need to be done in a way such as a conditional use, or a special exception, where there are really strong parameters around it.
Traffic and everything else.
Yeah, and that character piece of how do you have a Parker's Maple Barn, right? How do you have something that has that look and feel and stays that, not the strip
It's not a
mall?
full-time operation per se, it's a part-time operation, weekly, daily, stuff like
Potentially,
that.
but I think it was that look and feel was a really important piece. And so I think that's where it's going to go. I'm not sure, but I think, and I don't want to speak for the Economic Development Committee, but I think there's a sense that the committee has spent a lot of time gathering input, and now it's probably a point where we're going to start to see some recommendations come out.
Nice. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if anyone would want to differentiate existing residential areas where they might want a very small subset of uses like restaurants permitted, because restaurants tend to not be the most disruptive form of commercial development, I'd say,
Right.
if done right.
But there's that character piece that's important. I think that look and, how do you make
Right.
sure you've got that look and feel that,
Yeah, it all depends the type, style, mannerism of it.
Right.
You hit it in a rural type environment, which is.
exactly.
Common man is he's done it all over the state.
That's right.
Okay, he used to live in town years ago.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he lived in the house that I live in.
Is it?
Yeah, I didn't get it. I for whatever reason, I was very surprised. I couldn't get a good image of the common man in Merrimack that was the Hannah Jack, but that's a 1750s era building. It's great.
That's great.
Buckley's Great Steaks up the road.
Yeah.
That is
They're
also
all
a
historical
200 plus
buildings.
year old building. So there's really good examples in the region of those kinds of things that have been done.
And in fact, you got sprinkler systems in the town, a water system. Those buildings are simpler to renovate. You don't have to get into all the fire code stuff because it's got water coming out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I wonder if it would be possible to create a waiver that applies to the residential district that says if along 3A and if the character meets certain requirements that the board, including character, which the board would have to subjectively view, that you could do a certain uses like restaurants.
I think you could. You could probably construct it as a conditional use permit, with pretty specific guidelines around, what the requirements would be in order to get that approval. So I do think it would take some thought, to construct that. But yeah, is it doable? I think it is doable.
Yeah, that might make sense. Would this be something we should bring up in the next workshop?
We certainly could. I think we definitely have some other things we wanted to talk about too, but yeah, I see the reason why. So what I was gonna do is send out some materials in advance of that, which I can start doing now. We've got some good examples. I was gonna send out the proposed mixed-use village concept that was raised a few years ago. And then also, kind of at that time, Kate Stevens actually pulled together some really good information on what does a kind of traditional mixed-use village concept mean. So I was going to send out those materials, and I'll send out this presentation. Then yeah, absolutely, we can talk about it.
Sounds good.
That wasn't televised, right? Or was it?
No.
No.
I don't remember seeing that.
No.
Yeah.
In the old days?
One of the reasons why it wasn't was just because kind of the idea with the focus group is you want it free
I see.
Conversation without it
Conversation.
Got it.
Yeah, and I will say that it wasn't all about that. We did have one individual who really felt we need to do more to liberalize our home business requirements, that they're too restrictive and they keep people from innovating and creating new ideas and new businesses. And so that was a very interesting, and it is an entrepreneur who lives in town, kind of a serial entrepreneur.
Do you have any specific examples of how it's restricting?
Yes and no. Like one example came up about, signs and signage. Why can't you have more signage? And although we didn't get into a lot of details, I think definitely kind of the percentage of the home that can be used, and
The outbuilding associated with it as well.
Yeah, and I think the idea in this case was, well, this individual is an entrepreneur and this individual's significant other is an entrepreneur, and they both have multiple businesses and
home occupations.
right. So I think that was a sense of we should be encouraging more home business and we shouldn't be as restrictive as we are.
The concern is, of course, that can be disruptive to the residential use.
Of course, that's right. That's the trade-off. So whether that's something we spent a lot of time on updating the ordinance last year. So I don't know that we want to go back down that road again. But nevertheless, that was a comment that was raised.
It's gonna take more than 1 year to do this, to get it right. It's gonna take a while, the plan is better. You know what I'm
It certainly
talking
could. It certainly could.
Get it in just to get it out the vote in a short period of time, you're not gonna have a good mix until you get more people involved with it.
Right.
Okay.
And there was also some discussion at that
got it.
meeting about, could we do a more in-depth assessment of the types of uses that, which are the types of uses that would be realistic in Litchfield that would kind of give you the biggest bang for the buck in terms of tax base? What are the higher generators versus the lower generators? And so we had some conversation around that also.
Okay.
I guess it was a pretty robust conversation.
Very good. Well, thank you. NRPC, I believe, is the meeting tomorrow night?
Yeah,
Is that-
tomorrow night.
All right. It's tomorrow night at NRPC in Nashua.
And, for those interested, the main topic is going to be a presentation from our consulting engineers, VHB, on the Safe Streets for All plan that is currently in preparation. NRPC has teamed up with the 3 other regional planning commissions that are also federally designated MPOs. So all of us received a grant jointly to do the Safe Streets for All action plan, and this is one of the more recent federal programs that came out under the Infrastructure Act, which is basically first step is you have to have the Safe Streets for All action plan, and then once you have the action plan, communities can then apply for implementation dollars. So there's going to be a focus, of course, on traffic safety generally, but there will also be a specific focus also on bicycle pedestrian safety, which may tie in nicely to our conversations around Albuquerque, which is something I do think we might want to think about for an implementation grant, because that's all about enhancing safety. So something I think we should file away.
Nice segue into that.
Right.
And what do you believe the timeline would be for that?
We anticipate the plan being complete in January of '25, so soon.
So, if the grant is available in January, what would be the deadline for funding, would you say?
I believe funding, the next round of funding under the grant, I'm not sure exactly, I can double check, but I believe it opens in spring. The timing of January completion of the plan was intended to give time for communities to apply. So we should have the plan in place before the next round of grant applications opens.
Okay. So we're going to have to create a plan and get support from the Board of Selectmen in order to make something happen, right?
Yes, I mean, at this point, we really do have the basis for an application now. It's pretty specific what improvements would be, and there's actually a dollar amount. We could inflate that dollar amount, but that's all actually there. So we're in a really, if we wanted to move forward with an application, we're in a very good position to do it.
Yeah, speaking of Albuquerque, there was a collision on the Century Albuquerque intersection. I don't know much about it. I'd be interested to learning more about it.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it wasn't publicized other than social media, so don't know much about it. But
That means it fortunately wasn't bad enough to make the, MUR.
MUR.
It's true.
yeah, but yeah, I wonder if any improvements would be beneficial over there.
Accident at Albuquerque and Century Lane.
Van tipped over. How fast do you think that van was going?
Tipped over. Wow.
It was,
Do you know if it was just a single vehicle thing or a multi-vehicle?
I don't know. It had, I think it's Tony Rosa was out there and took a picture of it. Look on Facebook.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jay, for the information. The Conservation Commission met at the beginning of September. I did go to that meeting. And CIP was canceled last night because we didn't have a quorum. And so it has been rescheduled. I believe to October 7th or 8th? I can't remember.
Should be the 7th.
I think it's the 7th.
Yeah, it's the 7th.
Okay. And Lower Merrimack Local River Advisory Committee, I've not heard anything from them. All right, approval of the September 3rd, 2024 minutes.
Abstain.
I'm glad you're back, because we needed a quorum. So, did anybody have an opportunity to take a look at those?
Yes.
I haven't seen them yet, but I'll say yes.
So I was looking, and a number looked a little wrong. So, said the population projections provided by the Office of Planning and Development for Litchfield were also discussed. The 2020 population was 4,478. That doesn't sound right, with projections reaching 9,119 by 2030 and 9,426 by 2040. That seems off by at least 4,000.
Do you know what page you're on?
This is page 2, near the bottom. The numbers are bolded.
yeah, the 2020 number doesn't look right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it must just be a typo since the actual number was 8,478. So we'll just.
And are you sure that that's the number? Or?
I'm just got that from the 2020 census, so if we're following that one.
Okay, so yeah,
You did 8,000?
478.
so
Makes sense.
just off by 4,000.
Yeah, I think the numbers just got a little jumbled.
That makes sense for that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Good catch.
We have no more land to build.
Yeah, it'd be crazy if the population jumped.
Yeah.
I've said that when you all came here.
It did jump by that much.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Did anyone else notice anything? That was the only thing that was obvious to me.
If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to approve them as amended.
So moved.
All right, I have a motion by Jared. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Travis. Any further discussion? Those in favor of approval of the September 3rd, 2024 minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstained? Okay. Motion passes 3-0.
I'm sorry. Sorry to see you. I'm trying to make you all laugh. It's boring.
We miss you. All right, any other business this evening? Joan, do you have anything?
Yes,
Sweet.
November 5th is election day, and that's the first Tuesday of the month.
We are all
Do you
having a
want
meeting.
to change the meeting?
I think we're gonna have to, given the circumstances.
Who's running this year?
Yeah, really. Cats and dogs.
I know, I gotta spend the whole day there. You do too.
Yeah. So the next meeting would be the 19th, so do you just want to skip the 5th, or what do you want to do with the 5th?
What do you got for agendas?
Do we have agenda items by?
Not now, no.
You'd be lucky if you do.
We actually don't have anything for October 1st.
Unless you could take a different date. Instead of that Tuesday. We're doing it now with the Board of Selectmen. We're taking different days to get things done.
We don't really have anything for that agenda,
What about zoning changes or anything
workshop?
We're gonna have the workshop on the 1st.
of October
Yeah.
for zoning?
Isn't that, was there something else scheduled? Just Rick coming
Rick's
in.
coming in.
But I think we were gonna do a workshop, at least some workshop on the 1st.
Okay.
We could.
I mean, unless you guys want to do, like, have another meeting, not on that November 5th, but
But then you have December for zoning.
the only issue would be
Right.
rooms, because I know jockeying between the fire station and this.
We could, just hold it tentatively as needed.
Tentatively.
And if needed, you can pick a date to have the
Okay.
meeting.
See if anything happens, and if anything
I-
happens.
So I wouldn't schedule any hearings until, I guess, the 19th if they come in October.
Okay.
Yeah, we could certainly see what we get for applications. We know Boulder Creek comes back on the
About
15th of October.
Right,
Okay.
and that's all.
And that'll be cut and dry, basically, for what I'm seeing.
Yeah,
It's so simple.
right.
So you just want to wait and see what happens?
But we definitely won't be on the
Right.
5th.
It won't be on the 5th, I know
So the
that.
question is cancel or reschedule.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
And then the other thing was, I said earlier that the Board of Selectmen is talking about open space on Talarico Street on the 23rd, and they would
That's
like a
correct.
planning board member to be present.
I'll go. Obviously, I'm the chair, so.
Okay.
I'll be there.
Is that for the Board of Selectmen?
To the Board of Selectmen, yeah.
That's like open space stuff. Just acceptance. More land.
All right. Jay, do you have anything else?
I do not.
Okay. Anybody have anything else?
Did did anyone reach out regarding the stormwater MS4?
Oh, yes. The MS4 permit went in today, actually.
Right.
Yep.
And the consultant isn't making any changes.
And the consultant is not available to assist in updating the regulations at this time.
Right, that's correct.
Yeah, so then the question is, what are we going to do? Because we agreed that we were wary of approving or of adopting those regulations as they were, and only did it because we needed to be in compliance in a time.
And I'm happy to talk to Lou and see if there's something we could come up with. And maybe Lou's more confident than I am. My one hesitation is that, I would want someone knowledgeable on MS4 requirements to make sure that anything that we do isn't out of, would cause the town for any reason to not be in compliance.
Right, and I know that Kim Kleiner and the road agent are working on MS4 right now, and it's pretty much their bailiwick.
So I think,
But I think I sort of mirror Jared's concern, because I was thinking about that too, because when we did approve them, we didn't make a whole lot of changes, and they were
No.
as written. So if we're gonna have stormwater rules and regulations that we have to adhere to legally, they're not changed. In the, or made, there haven't been those modifications made, so.
yeah, and of
I mean, I'm
course-
not saying,
Right.
Just,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that, I do think that it was our sense at the time that the regulations that we were adopting were compliant.
Right.
There were still issues.
Yeah.
So maybe what would make sense to do is to also put this as a workshop item, maybe on a different meeting, but a workshop item, and it probably makes sense to review the minutes that came out of that meeting and the draft at the same time, and then look for where are there opportunities for us to make some modifications that could address the concerns that were raised. Perhaps some of those won't have implications for MSO requirements.
I think the main thing that we concluded was that the only section that we really should revise is the follow-up stuff.
Right.
And as long as we stay within that and make sure there is a clear plan to enforce it, then we're fine. And the consultant did say that the permit is not as specific on that front, as long as we have a plan and present to keep it in compliance.
Right, and so I guess so long as whatever we come up with could get that blessing, I think that would be fine.
It's on the website right now, the town website, the MS4. They posted it, okay? Today. And you need to take a nap before you read it.
So, yeah, I mean, we can agenda that and have a chance to take a look at it
right,
and revisit the comments.
right, because as I said, I mean, I know when we approved them, they were
Yeah.
approved as pretty much very strict.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So,
and they
I
were.
mean,
Yeah.
and if that's in place, then we have to honor that as, legally, so I just don't want,
Oh, it is in place.
Right.
So yeah,
So-
Right.
it's
And if you may recall, we also got some pretty detailed input.
Yeah.
Which would be worth reviewing as well. Obviously, a lot of those comments were addressed, but there was a subsequent letter, I think, that we got that talked about what was addressed and what wasn't, but we have all that information.
And I'm sure the people who attended those earlier meetings might also be interested in attending the workshop.
I would think so,
Yeah.
yes.
And the two applicants, I believe, are going to the selectmen on the 23rd.
Oh,
We've
yes.
got another applicant as
Oh,
well,
good.
coming in, that was the one's coming in October 1st for an interview.
Okay,
Nice.
nice.
Good.
Yeah, I was looking at the agendas and I was like, it looks like none of them are gonna be able to make it for our upcoming meeting. But, so we have another coming to us or just
No,
this?
another coming to us, one more,
Nice.
right. They'll come to the selectmen on the 23rd, and then as soon as their paperwork gets processed through and sworn in, then they could be at the October 1st meeting, supposedly.
That'd be great.
You talking about the 23rd? Okay,
Selectmen the 23rd.
yeah, I
Going
know,
to
we
selectmen.
got the agenda right here
Okay,
for that.
great.
The only thing I know about a computer is small. Doesn't have a mouse.
You're learning.
No, we're not.
I can assure you that I've done well looking at it.
I believe it. All right. I don't have anything else this evening. Are you, is that it, Jared? Is there anything else you want
I
to?
think that's it.
And everyone else doesn't have anything?
Can I make a
I will
motion?
entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Travis.
Thank you.
Assume there's no further discussion, but all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstained, motion passes 400. Thank you for joining us this evening, and we will see you in October, October 1st. So have a great, great evening, and enjoy the rest of the last days of summer, and we'll see you in the fall.
I
a good
can't
night.
wait to autumn and winter.
You're the only one.
This has been a hot year.
Yeah.
Don't
Dry.
we have a hard